All right. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. Welcome to another exciting video. We're going to finish up our conversation on golden ages during the classical civilization. Just an update, I am officially out. I knew I would be, but I have to quarantine until the 23rd, so I will not see you until next year. Keep doing good things for the sub, and yeah, everything's been looking good so far on OneNote. So, what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about two different golden ages that happened during the classical era. We're going to look at the Gupta Empire in India, and then we're going to do our first trip across the Atlantic in this class, and we're going to look at the Mayan civilization in modern day Mexico. So that's exciting. Two very different civilizations location wise, but we're going to fit them both into one day today. And then tomorrow, I may or may not make a video, but tomorrow you are going to pick one of the five golden ages we talked about so far: Han Dynasty, Athens, Rome, Gupta, or Mayan. And then you're going to write a paragraph picking of the five which one had the ultimate golden age. Okay? So you're going to listen to me do notes, and then you're going to answer questions out the door. You can either pause the video and do it after each section or just do it all at the end. And then answering the question: what were three achievements of the Gupta Empire, and did they have a golden age? And how did they have a golden age, I should say? And what were three achievements of the Mayan Empire, and how did they have a golden age? Okay, so go ahead, and if you could be so kind, go into OneNote, go to Global OneNotes, and you should be on page 17. Josh Allen's number. Go Bills. Page 17 of the notes. All right, so let's talk about the Gupta Empire. So the Gupta Empire, if you look at the map, it's going to be all in the yellow, is going to be around 320 AD. So it's going to be a little bit later than some of our other golden ages, and it's going to be located in the the Indian Peninsula or subcontinent. It's called as well too, and Hinduism is going to have a massive, massive impact on the society. So let's talk about the geographical settings. So the Guptas will start in the north, and then it's going to spread southward. And geography is going to benefit this empire the most. The mountains are going to protect them from foreign invaders. The mountains will be up north. So again, I know you're writing stuff down, but the mountains would be up here, the Himalayan mountains. So the mountains will protect invaders from the north. And then the Indus and Ganges rivers that runs through India is going to help trade throughout the empire, as well as provide water and good fertile soil. If you have good fertile soil, you have crops. If you have crops, you have a civilization, and that's where life blooms. All right. The government structure, it's going to be a strong centralized government. Again, a common theme we are seeing amongst these golden ages is a strong central government, keeping all the power in one place. Oh, thought I had my highlighter. Sorry, guys. There we go. That's going to allow to oversee everything in a more organized manner. It's going to allow farming and trade to prosper. Remember, a golden age, you have to have peace and prosperity. So you're not at war, which they were protected from outsiders with the Himalayan mountains right there, as well as they were able to trade, make goods, and that's when the money starts flowing. So the centralized government's going to oversee the farming, trade, and as well as make decisions with local leaders that were elected. Each village is going to have a headman and a council that makes decisions for each village. So you had a ruler that oversaw the whole empire, but then those rulers allowed elected officials to have say in their individual villages, which is very, 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 very smart of them. All right. So, role of women. Early on, women were allowed to serve on councils. It was great. However, once Hinduism keeps spreading throughout the empire, the role of women is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. There's going to be lots of restrictions on women in the Gupta Empire under Hinduism because of Hindu law. So they will no longer be able to participate in government and not have a say. More on that in a moment. So this should come to no shock to any of us because I know a lot of us did Hinduism for our belief systems project, but the caste system is going to have a massive impact on Gupta society because Hinduism is going to be at the center of Gupta society. So remember, the caste system, you cannot move up in the caste system. There's no social hierarchy. The only way you can move up is if you get good karma, if you fulfill your dharma, and you get reincarnated and you move up in the caste system. But within your lifetime, you can't move up at all. And it's going to be firmly in Indian society is going to be the caste system, and the Guptas are really going to be that first civilization to really implement it. And again, just like yesterday, if I'm going too fast, just have the sub pause the video. There's the caste system right there. Don't need to really review that. We talked about it quite a bit. So family life, like I was hinting at earlier, it's not going to be great for women. Men are going to be the heads of the family. They're going to have great authority. Children are going to learn the family trade. So again, there's the caste system in there. If your father was a blacksmith, you become a blacksmith. If your father was a warrior, you become a warrior. If your father was an untouchable, unfortunately, you become an untouchable. And this is going to be the first time we see in India there's going to be arranged marriages. Hindu laws are going to require that people marry within their caste. So there was no chance of you to move up through marriage in the caste system. You had to marry within your caste. And it was going to be that way in India until 1948. Even once it becomes outlawed, a lot of old school Indians still practice the caste system in arranged marriages to this day. And this is only going to make women's lives much more restricted. And then what I would say the greatest achievement of the Gupta Empire, because you might be thinking, LT, you've been just saying all kind of sad things about social life. Well, mathematics. Hate it or love it, math is super, super important. And the Guptas are going to do so much for mathematics. They're going to come up with 0 in the decimal system of base of 10. And they're going to use the Arabic numeral system that we have today. So it's going to be massive for mathematics. The ancient Greeks are going to do the same thing too, but they never interacted with each other. They were isolated, at least the Guptas were at least. Other parts of Indian society would have interacted with them, but way before all the mathematics. So it just shows how important math is when you have different societies in isolation at different times in history that came up with the same theories of math. It just shows how massively important math is. Good job, math. Medicine, they will find a way to set bones and repair facial injuries. The Gupta Empire will be credited with the first ever plastic surgery in human history. And remember, this is 200 AD. This is a super long time ago. And they are going to be the first society to vaccinate people. Wow, it's kind of like vaccinations have always been important. So it's going to be able to vaccinate people against smallpox 1,000 years before the Europeans do it. That is massive, ladies and gentlemen. Before I forget, before we move on from the facial injuries, so we talked about a couple minutes ago how women were mistreated in Gupta society. Well, the original plastic surgery was actually invented to shame women, unfortunately. So if you were a woman in Gupta society and you cheated on your husband, what they would do is they would cut your nose off, break the bone, all of that stuff. And then it was more of like it showed shame because you didn't have a nose. So they would literally break your nose off. But to make sure there wasn't just a massive hole in your face, they would put either animal bones or twigs into the hole where your nose used to be, and then put a little piece of skin from your arm or somewhere else in your body over where your nose was. And that was the first form of plastic surgery in recorded society, at least. They would use the same technique that they did the shame women in to injuries for soldiers who may have got wounded in battle. But again, they did it to shame women. Now you may say, well, LT, what if like the husband cheated on his wife? Did not matter. Did not matter, unfortunately. But just a little sad fun fact for you there. All right. Architecture, one of my favorite words to say in Global One, these dome-like shrines right here called stupas. So that's a stupa. So anytime we see a society that has complex architecture, that's going to help them qualify for having a golden age. They're going to have literature. Their language can be Sanskrit. It's going to be a language that's going to allow for the spread of stories across the region. And it's actually a language we do not know how to read today. So everything we know about the Guptas is just based off of archaeological finds. So as all these go, how did the Guptas end? What happened to the Gupta dynasty? Well, after 200 years, the Guptas declined due to weak rulers and foreign invasions. They found a way to get over the mountains, or they got on ships and they came up through the Indian Ocean, and that's going to stop trade and destroy villages. All right. So you can do one or two things, and you can decide as a class, or the sub will decide. You can pause this video right now, and you can go to Unit 4 of OneNote, and then you can answer the first question out the door under Lesson 6. Or we can just keep the video going and hear about the Mayans. All right. So let's travel to the other side of the world, and let's talk about the Mayans. Woo! So why I like talking about the Mayans is because I like to point out that there was complex civilizations in North and South America years, hundreds, thousands of years, not hundreds, thousands of years, but you know what I'm trying to say. I'm being dramatic. Hundreds of years, thousands of years before Europeans came over. And if you look at the map right there, it's going to be at the very bottom of what is modern day Mexico. That is going to be the Mayan region. So, Mayan farmers, how did they start about? Well, every society starts about when you find an area to do your farming. However, where they lived, it was very dense rainforests. Remember, dense means a lot of things close together. You can't really farm in a dense rainforest. So their farming method was called slash and burn. What they would do is slash down the forest, burn the wood, or use it for other things, and then they would use that soil as farm fields. And they would build raised fields off of that and collect rainwater. And at the time, it worked. It worked. However, long-term effect, though, that's really going to destroy the soil. Pretty much any soil where trees were growing is going to be terrible for farming unless you treat it properly. Crop production is going to decrease, and it's going to lead to the widespread food shortages. And we'll get to it a little bit later, but that's going to be one of the theories on why the Mayans collapsed. But before all that happens, they would grow beans, rice, squash, fruit trees, cotton, flowers. The Mayans are going to be polytheistic. So that means, remember, they believe in many different gods. Priests are going to perform human sacrifice, and ceremonies for good harvests and success in war. They're going to honor the sun god. They would perform a sacrifice to the sun every day because that's what they believed in. If they didn't perform a sacrifice before every harvest, they thought their crops wouldn't grow. Or before every battle, or during every full moon. There was a different ceremony for each different event of the year. And they're going to have many pyramid-like temples. There's a photo of today. My favorite thing about the Mayans is, and I apologize, I didn't talk about the years, so if it is a little bit later than the other ones, it's going to be 300 AD to 900 AD, that they're going to develop a road system and aqueducts to the same level, if not better, than the Roman roads and aqueducts. And you have to remember, there's no evidence and there was no way the Romans, the Mayans interacted with each other. So the fact that they came up with this road system, aqueducts on their own, proves how much of a that's what I'm looking for. Complex society they were. Remember, aqueducts brings in water. I'm going to write that down. So aqueducts. So each city is going to have a ruling chief with nobles who collected taxes, enforced laws, and serve in the military. Again, you can't be a complex society without collecting taxes and laws. They're going to have a written form of language as well, too. Use hieroglyphics, often written on bark. I mean, they did slash and burn. They had plenty of trees around. Priests are going to be the head of your Mayan society. They're going to be experts in math and astronomy. Remember, astronomy is the study of the stars, planets, everything above. And they're going to develop a 365-day calendar, just like the one we have today. And just like the Guptas that we just talked about, they're also going to develop a concept of zero. Again, these isolated societies figuring out how important math is. And then in 900 AD, roughly around there, Mayans are going to abandon their cities. And we think it could be due to constant warfare with each other or overpopulation, and that slash and burn method isn't going to work for a large population. Okay? All right, so that is all I have for notes today. And that was the last bit of notes until after the holiday break, so that's exciting. So go ahead. What you're going to do, you're going to go back to Unit 4, Lesson 6. The page will look a little bit like this. The only difference is this video will be tagged in there. And then you just need to answer these questions. I would like 2 to 3 sentences for each each question, because this is all you have to do the rest of the class. If there is a sizable chunk of time left in class, so many of you owe me the belief systems essay. Please, please, please make sure you're doing it. If you have 10 minutes left, 20 minutes left, even 5 minutes left, you have to do something. It's going in as a 0 if you don't do anything, and you don't want to have a 0 before Christmas break. All right? And if you have any questions on it, if you're saying, well, you weren't here, I couldn't do the essay, well, you can easily message me in Teams to ask for help. All right? Thanks so much for watching, guys. Thanks for being great for the sub. And I hope you have a wonderful break. I think I'm going to make one more video. Yeah, I'm going to make a video for tomorrow just to introduce the writing assignment you're going to do. So I will talk to you tomorrow. And of course, go Bills.